Absolute Sword Sense. By Hanjun Liulia. Chapter 52. Escape. Part 1. 1,000 miles chasing fragrance. If one was a spy, they would know what this was. It was literally as described by its name. A fragrance that spreads over 1,000 miles. By spraying this aromatic dust, the location can be used to track items or train dogs to track. It hasn't been long since it was sprayed so I could smell it, but why did the second disciple of second elder of the blood sect have to sneak out at night and do this? Spy? It cannot be. I wanted to know what it was by taking him down. The guy who was holding on to his life wanted to attack me. Shoo! And he pointed his longer blade at me. Didn't you hear that the more curious you are, the shorter your life turns? Well, I think I heard the less careful you are, the shorter your life will be. The guy was speechless. He was someone who got caught, so what more could he say? The guy staring at me turned and looked around and smiled. You idiot. Did you really think you could handle me alone? He seemed convinced that there were no people around. Having mastered lying, I said to him without changing my expression. Did you think I would come alone? Huh. If it were so, they would have blocked me or blocked my escape route already. He isn't fooled by your lie. I guess he isn't a dumb frog. If it was that simple, I wouldn't have been a good spy. And this man seemed amazingly trained too. Then, pat. I struck my fist at him and swung my sword. Despite the surprise attack, Go-eun-jae moved to avoid the attack. As expected of someone who was well trained. Did you think a surprise attack would work? You and I are different. You must have felt me during the day. Were your shoes straight? You toad. When I suddenly appeared, the guy failed to put on his shoes and just stepped on them. Toad? You fucking bastard. Rather than stepping back to call him a toad, he stomped at me with an angry face. And the long blade is slashed to my neck. I leaned back and thrust my sword into his chest. Papak. He jumped up to avoid it, and in that state, he slammed his long blade at my head with all his might, making me raise my sword to block it. SRNG. As if he raised his internal chi to the maximum, the sword trembled, and my body was pushed back 4 steps. Go-eun-jae showed the grace of having the upper hand. Stupid bastard. If you were lucky enough to defeat Ho Jiam-won with that trick, you are mistaken to think that you can deal with me. Seeing how he was calling his scion by name, I was right about having bad blood between them. But it was still unknown if this guy was a spy or not. Keck, that trick only applies to those with lesser skill than you, right? What a pity. My body and limbs are solely focused on. You talk so much. I stabbed my sword like lightning at the mouth of the man who couldn't shut his damn mouth. Perhaps he was too confident in his skills, and he lazily lifted his blade. Chong. Huh? At that moment, his body got pushed back. You? The guy's eyes were wide open. I didn't miss the chance and moved around him using the Xingming God art. And then used the tiger tooth sword. A fierce attacking technique. The guy, who was shaken by the sudden change in my movement, hurriedly took his stance and leaped forward. Cha-cha-chang. His blade and my sword clashed constantly. The destructive force of the blade techniques seemed horribly bloody, just like the name of Seo Kalma. Even in this shaky situation, he could excellently handle my technique. Fat. The guy who stopped my technique spread back. You hid your skills. He seemed surprised by the power of mine having surpassed that of a first-rate warrior. It was natural for him to react like this as he assumed that I was always weaker than him. Did he not know about warriors always hiding their skills? But you came back to live another time. Ah? He couldn't hide his shock as his whole body felt stiff. He probably didn't understand what had happened and was too shocked, but nothing changed. Let's see. I put my finger in his mouth and opened it wide. He looked at me angrily, but it was too late. Isn't this going to be his next attempt? Found it. What did you find? I carefully grabbed what was attached to the molars of the teeth and pulled it. A very thin thread was tied around the left molar, and I gently had to pull it as he groaned at it. Swish! And through the throat came something tied. A tiny black capsule. What is that? She could see it well despite being stuck to the ground. Poison pill. Poison pill? That is poison? Right. Usually, this was a must-have thing. As expected, this guy was a spy. There are two ways for spies to kill themselves. One was to use their weapon to cut their throat, which was always prepared for, and then there was this poison which burned the body from the inside out, which was too painful. How can those who couldn't die even once try it? Maybe based on the situation? It is to be expected that one doesn't die even if we eat the poison right away. Ah, right. Then is instant death better? So the throat would be the first choice. It was a lot better than taking poison. But what? This one had failed at both. Go-eun-jae screamed as if he was about to cough and looked at me and the pill, and I smiled. You fell into my hands. With those words, I slammed my fist into his face. Tang! 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 As we approached the main hall, a bell was ringing. An ominous sound. As expected, the spread of fragrance was informed or known. Thanks to that, someone must have come close to 6 Blood Valley. I glanced at Go-eun-jae, who was draped over my shoulder. It is all different. The location of 6 Blood Valley must be revealed. But this wasn't the right time. But considering that Seo Kalma shouldn't even be here at this time, this was bound to happen. Then the fate of Ho Ji-won changed. If my prediction is right, the guy must have died in the hands of Go-eun-jae. However, fate changed since I caught him. Anyway, I had to hurry. Pat. I used footwork and ran for the gate, and upon entering, many warriors of the sect were moving around. They were all soaking oil over the buildings. What are they doing? Burning it all. The location was discovered, and it was an urgent task to remove their traces. The blood sect, which was hiding for a long time, was revealed, so this was bound to happen. Hae Ak-chun, the twins, Baek Ryan-ha, and Seo Kalma, along with the commander of this place, were having serious talks. Teacher. Know you? Young master? Everyone looked at me. Everyone had different expressions, and most were skeptical. It was a natural reaction as I wasn't there when the bell rang. Kid. Where are you coming from? Hae Ak-chun asked me. Tak. I put the idiot on the shoulders down. Eun-jae. Seo Kalma frowned and called for the disciple, and he looked at me. You. What have you done? A spy. Spy what nods, what? Not just Seo Kalma but everyone else was shocked at the words and looked at the fainted Go-eun-jae. Chapter 53. Escape. Part 2. Everyone was shocked by my use of the word spy. Their reaction was natural as I said that the second disciple of the second elder, Seo Kalma, was a spy. And Seo Kalma was one of the 4 venerable dignitaries. He looked at me with eyes filled with anger. Do you even know what you are saying? A spy? The feeling of intimidation wasn't normal. My heart was beating fast, making me anxious, but I didn't lose my composure. Why is the bell ringing now? It was Baek Ryan-ha who answered those words. Hundreds of people appeared near the mountains, possibly warriors. And those who looked like scouts had entered the mountain region. They aren't far from the sect. This was expected. The role of the scouts was to check around. Since Go-eun-jae was a spy, the scent that he threw around needed to be tracked. These scouts would surely find this location eventually. If they are near the mountain, then the people will come here in less than 2 to 4 hours and report back too. We don't have time. Tell me why he is a spy. SRNG. Tat attack. 5 people surrounded me. They were the 5 leaders of the 6th Blood Valley and Gu Sangwon. They already took the weapons out and aimed them. They were suspicious of me too. Heokasian's leader was ready to swing her sword at any time. Don't move from the place and explain. Young master, where have you been? Bang! At that time, He Ak-chun slammed the ground below and shouted. Are you doubting my disciple right now? Shocked by his rage, the 5 leaders weren't sure what to do. In the meantime, it looked like he trusted his disciple. I see the old man in a new light. Right. However, there were people who could ignore him. Hey Hyung. Your disciple also went off when the bells rang. And going wasn't enough. He did this to my disciple. This is a situation where anyone will be suspicious of your disciple. What? We aren't clear if He Hyung's disciple had made my disciple like this to blame him for this all. Like He Ak-chun, this man trusted his disciple too. Are you accusing me? Huh. As I thought, talks don't. At that time, Han Baekha stopped him. Both of you. We don't have time for this. We need to fix this quickly. So, young master, give us a proper explanation if you want to avoid suspicion. Otherwise, the young master will also be detained. With her declaration, I pointed at Go Eun-jae. Take the soul from the shoe of the second elder's disciple. Soul? Gu Sangwon, the commander of this valley, looked cautiously at Seo Kalma. He was asking for permission. Seo Kalma nodded with an uncomfortable expression. Gu Sangwon personally took off the shoe from this guy, and when he tore the sole off, a leather pouch of white power was exposed. Seo Kalma, who saw this, was shocked. And Gu Sangwon brought it closer to his mouth and smelled it. Then, looking at it, Baek Ryan-ha and Han Baekha had stiff faces as they said, 1,000 miles chasing strength. 1,000 miles chasing strength. Among them, there were those who didn't seem to know about it. They don't seem to know. As Short Sword had said, the twins were only looking bewildered at this, but there was no time to explain. Hee, didn't I tell you? When evidence came out, He Ak-chun was alive. Without stopping here, I took out the poison pill in my hand. What is that? Han Baekha asked. Crash. The body shook violently, causing convulsions. What is he doing? Destroying his dantian. I didn't expect this extreme step to be taken right away. This action would be to show that this guy was no longer his disciple. That wasn't the end of Go Eun-ji's misfortune, cut his limbs off too. Baek Ryan-ha issued this cruel command. As expected of the blood demon's descendant. Last time, she let Han Baekha cut off her fingers without mercy. That is good. You and Baek Ryan-ha end up doing the same thing. It was true. I said it, but she ended up doing it. In any case, not just the dantian but the limbs would also be rendered useless. So even walking would be difficult. Since we had to find out who was behind this, one of the leaders brought by Han Baekha would handle him. Since it was shameful to have a spy with him, Seo Kalma just let everything happen. The issue of the spy got sorted and Baek Ryan-ha changed the topic. Let's wrap up the story about it and go for the escape route. It seems they were discussing this before I came here. And it seemed that they were trying to move by dividing 3 escape routes rather than going from one place. The reason was because of Baek Ryan-ha's identity. Although her identity wasn't known to the enemies, they were aiming to distract the attention of theirs. Isn't it better to be together than to go separately? But we don't know the force of the enemies. If there were more warriors who were stronger than the elders on the enemy side, it would be tough. For example, the 8 great warriors of the Central Plains. Perhaps they came with such a strategy in mind. As I said before, the people of the Great Doctor will get escorted first. I understand. We will leave soon. Second leader Seo Kalma, who had 5 commanders, decided to let them take charge. Great Doctor's people didn't belong to this place. Despite being a small number, they couldn't get involved in such dangerous things. And the next problem was Baek Ryan-ha. 4th elder, please escort our lady. You want me to? Han Baekha asked He Ak-chun. They might be after the lady. It could be dangerous for us to divide, so. Okay. He Ak-chun. who thought her words were true, accepted it. If Han Bekha decides to pretend to be the escort of the fake one, then the enemies would be confused. It is decided. Then the commander of the Six Blood Valley will have to divide the people. I will do as directed. And so the forces in the Six Blood Valley were divided into two. Half to escort the fake one, and the other half for the real Baek Ryanha. Even though it was fake, they could not let the enemy know. There is so much burden. TCH. Hayak Chun clicked his tongue. He was saying this because there were lower and middle rank warriors being put with them. Fourth Elder will have it tough, but please. Now set the flame. And the order fell. One of the leaders with other warriors set fire to the oil-soaked buildings around. Weak. The flames blazed and spread around. At this rate, in less than half an hour, everything would be turned to ashes. And Heo Kasian tried to throw something into the fire. It was the shoe of Go Eun-jae. Wait. Gu Sang-woo, who was watching, stopped her. He looked at Baek Ryanha and said, "My lady. How about we do it like this?" Chapter 54. Escape. Part 3. Tatak. With faces covered with masks, we were moving to the southwest. The Six Blood Valley was in a mountain range surrounded by peaks. This meant there were many mountain paths spread out in many directions, but some of them were safe to move on. The path we were taking now was something prepared over a long period of time. Since the path was steep and difficult to see, it could be described as the safest way out. But wasn't the leader the one in the most danger? It has to be dangerous. It had to be the most dangerous because the powder was sprayed over the body. In order to divert the attention of the enemies, Gu Sangwoo made a leader who was skilled with stealth pour the powder over him. A death mission. Right. If the person wasn't lucky, then it would be death for him. In the end, it was a mission that required sacrifice. By now, he has to be luring the enemies into a dangerous place. And if they find out, he commits suicide? Even if he doesn't want to, he will have to do it. It would be better than torture from the enemies. I am afraid that this happens everywhere. Well, even if it wasn't blood sect, any sect would sacrifice someone in this situation. Better to give one up to save many. It might be cruel, but this was Murim. Well, I hope he doesn't get caught. Their mission should be going well since there have been no problems till now. Because Baek Ryanha was moving with us, and there was no blockage on the other path. We had Gu Sangwoo with us, and he was a commander of the Six Blood Valley, so he had better knowledge of this place. Gu Sangwoo moved ahead of us and most of the sides were being guarded by Jang Munwang. In the middle of the procession were two more leaders of the Six Blood Valley including Hayak Chun, and the twins escorting Baek Ryanha. What was she eating again? Who? Baek Ryanha. As she asked, I looked toward the woman who was lifting her mask to eat beef jerky secretly. She seemed to have lost weight, but her craving for food hadn't died. For her to eat like this in such a situation, her condition mustn't have been cured. At that time, perhaps conscious of me seeing her, she lowered her mask and hid her jerky. I already saw it. Why bother hiding it now? Wait, did you start eating again? She secretly munches whenever she has time. I narrowed my eyes. How many bags of jerky did she have? I want to eat it too. Don't look at her, idiot. Seems like I wasn't the only one who noticed it. When Song Woohyun asked, Song Juabek quietly scolded him in a whisper. After discovering who Baek Ryanha was, he was being more cautious. Perhaps because of all this, Baek Ryanha took out 3 pieces of jerky and without a word handed it to the twins and me. Did this mean take one and shut your mouths? But I wasn't really hungry. But the taste felt good against the mouth. Eat quietly. You people. Hayak Chun, who was ahead of him, looked back with an annoyed voice. And Baek Ryanha apologized. I am sorry, Uncle Hae. From then on, Hayak Chun said nothing. We had been going down the mountain quickly for about half an hour. Sounds rang in my ear. I frowned and looked for its origin point. Almost the same, no, faster than me. Hey Ak-chan looked in the same direction, and he hurried to the front. Pat. Soon, Gu Sangwoo, who stood ahead, raised his hand to stop us. What, Please don't kill my owner. If he dies, I will be abandoned. That was bad. I felt bad for him. Then tell me about your owner's identity and where his colleagues are hiding. No. I cannot cheat. He refused, as if he knew where I was going with this. Even if the swords could be communicated with, I couldn't subdue their ego. Basically, each sword serves its own owner. Are you from the blood sect? Rather, he was questioning my identity. He said that all the members of the blood sect have to be killed for the sake of peace in Kangho, as they are cruel ones. With these words, I could roughly guess their identities. Seeing their cause, they had to be from orthodox sects. Really? Then I cannot do much. I lifted him up and aimed at the neck of the fallen man. Yeah, that is too cruel. Short Sword, who didn't speak till now, said, from their standpoint, this was like them stabbing their owner to death. I thought it would work. No. I will tell you. PL, please don't do that. The sword stepped back. Seeing that he was openly ready, he must really not want to kill his owner. And he gave me all the information he knew. As I said it all, you will save my owner's life, right? He asked, and I put him down. Thank you. You seem to be a good person of the blood sect. I will not touch the neck. What? Saying that, I stabbed the guy in the heart with iron sword. The swordsman's body was wriggling, then turned stiff. Yeah. You fucking human trash. How? The sword cursed at me. Sorry. The only consideration I can give you is not to let us kill him. But the sword continued to curse. Well, it couldn't help it. I used it and killed its owner. After all, its owner was here to kill me, and I doubt he would have shown me mercy. Still, you could be considerate. Short Sword said with a bitter voice. I wasn't doing this because I wanted to either. As I was feeling bad, Hei Ak-chen came over. I told you to end this quickly. What are you doing? Looking around, everyone seemed dead. All of them seemed weaker than I thought, so they were dealt with quickly. Seeing how you hesitate to kill, you have a long way to go. I guess talking to the sword got misunderstood like that. Ugh. I heard a small groan and looked at Gu Sangwoo bending over someone. Hei Ak-chen clicked his tongue. TCH. A fail? Gu Sangwoo nodded his head. He bit his tongue. Hearing what he said, he too aimed to know their identity, but the result was unsuccessful. Hei Ak-chen shook his head in disappointment. Nothing can be done. Let's hide the bodies and cover them behind the bushes and head back. All right. It was time for everyone to dispose of these corpses. I said to Hei Ak-chen, I figured it out. What? These people are warriors of the Tianjin clan and Heian sect. At that, everyone, including Hei Ak-chen, stopped and looked at me with shocked eyes. Chapter 55. Escape. Part 4. No, how do you know that? Hei Ak-chen asked despite being a bit shocked. I interrogated him. He seemed a bit hesitant to die, I guess. I questioned him using voice transmission as I didn't want the others around finding out. To be precise, it was the sword I heard it from, and the sword was still cursing me. It resented me, but that didn't matter. The lives on our side were important too. I said we have 100 people with us, and if he wanted his colleagues to be saved, he should talk. You can be called the master of lies at this point. Then do I say that I heard from a sword? You did a wise thing, young master. Gu Sangwoo, the leader of the valley, praised me. Since I had caught the spy, he seemed to like me. Quack, at least your head is working fine, so what did you find? I revealed what the sword had told me about. The dead swordsman came from the Heian sect, and he didn't know much. But I had found out that 7 sects were moved at the request of some other place, and there were a few more people waiting to ambush us, just like before. This is one thing, but the other problem will be the sect leader of the Heian sect who is searching for us with hundreds of masters. This. Everyone's expression went dark at my words. They could escape from this ambush, but the path ahead was a dead end. And we couldn't head back either. Huh. Then we will just have to break through them. Hey Action spoke. Although there were low-rank and middle-rank warriors amongst the people we were moving with, they were all ones who had learned martial arts, and it would still be possible to break through. It was unclear how many sacrifices would be needed from our side, as the enemies would probably not back down. Elder. That is dangerous. The whereabouts of the lady will be exposed. Gu Sangwu, who seemed to have the same thought as I, objected to this plan. Then what do you want to do? Head back like this? Elder. How about this? At that time, a leader called Yang Kangil opened his mouth. Gu Sangwu asked, hoping for an idea, Leader Yang. Do you have any good ideas? How about going down the Cliff Valley Road next to this? At that He Akchen seemed puzzled. There is another mountain road here? No. Suddenly, Gu Sangwu opposed it with a stiff face. Why not? It is a place of steep cliffs and valleys on either side. It is dangerous because the path is one way, there are no side extensions. A place where one could only move forward or head back. If he was right, then it wasn't the right for a retreat. In particular, when there is a large number of people being led, that path wasn't the right option. Then why not jump down to the valley? The cliffs are too high for that. Even if martial arts is used, it is still extremely dangerous. What is more is that there are fast-moving torrents in places, and if one gets pushed away by it, one's safety cannot be guaranteed. Ahem. Even if they were all martial artists, they were still humans. Even warriors fall weak in front of Mother Nature. When Gu Sangwu objected to this, He Akchen didn't ask anything more. No one knew the path of Six Blood Valley better than him. However, Leader Yang Kangil seemed to have other opinions. Because it is such a dangerous road, doesn't that mean we can get ahead of our enemies? What? Even the enemies might think we will not. Leader Yang. Do you want to gamble on the safety of the young lady and all the others that are at stake? Rather, everyone heard the shout of Gu Sangwu. He thought that the method was too dangerous for the people here. Wasn't there a saying in the martial arts world about avoiding roads that only have one path to take? But now, we were too far down the path to just outright reject this proposal. In the end, he had to choose between making a breakthrough from the enemy encirclement or going down this valley, even if both were risky. It was a moment when he seemed troubled. I heard the sound of something moving in my ear. Fat. At the same time, He Akchen's body moved too fast. Kick. Everyone, including me, looked over. He Akchen was twisting the neck of a man holding a horn. There was one who hadn't died yet. The situation turned urgent as someone made the mistake of leaving an enemy alive. Although He Akchen did kill him, the guy had blown the horn for a short time. Damn it. As long as the horn got rung, there was no way out. Enemies would come running down our path of retreat. Elder? Let's head down that valley. Shit. He Akchen spoke a bit nervously at this unexpected turn of events and then looked at the place the procession stopped. Phew. Gu Sangwu, the leader, took a deep breath and followed. And the rest of the leaders followed him. We, who joined the procession, turned around to the commander and went down the road. I don't have a weapon, so the young lord will have to draw his sword to signal the procession. Yang Kangil used his fists, so he had no weapon. I turned back and pulled out the South Heavenly Iron Sword and raised it so everyone in the back could see it. And when the sword was raised, the others who realized the meaning, drew their weapons. SRNG. It was better to be prepared in advance. Wenhui. Iron Sword called for me. What is it? As I held him, he informed me what he had seen. What? I frowned, and young Kangil said to me, "Hurry, young master. Any further delay will be dangerous." "I understand." To my response, young Kangil nodded his head. At this time, I tried to kill down the presence of my internal energy presence and moved as forward as I could, but I must have been too close. Young Kangil tried to turn his head. At that moment, I stabbed him in the back at the speed of lightning. Quack! Quack! I hurriedly pointed the sword at his neck and said, "If you don't want to die, stay silent." "What is your identity?" "What the hell?" "Speak only if you are sure." I thrust the sword further towards his neck. Quack! One more inch, and this bastard would die in my hands. Looking shocked, young Kangil stared up at me. It was the same with the upper-rank warriors behind. "Young master, why are you being like this?" As a warrior asked, I said, "Is there something like a white powder on the back of the sheath?" At the words, the warriors frowned a little and then said in surprise, "Yes." Just as Iron Sword had said. As I drew Iron Sword, he told me that young Kangil had tampered with my sheath from behind. That he had fiddled something onto it. And I touched the sheath and smelt it. Again, it was the 1,000 miles chasing fragrance. Is he with that one? I don't know. What do we do? Not all the scents were the same. The scent that young Kangil put on my sheath was different from what Kounjay did. Of course, it was possible for the same group of people to use different types. I pushed the tip of my sword to his throat. "Why did you put that powder onto me?" Kangil looked shocked. He didn't even have the time to think about what had just happened as he was caught too fast. And I felt annoyed. "Spill it." Young Kanael said nothing, not being able to think of anything. For the commander and fourth elder to follow. Clench. Hook. Don't spew shit to me. Will you have to do it secretly if that was your purpose? He was speaking nonsense right to my face. Come to think of it, this guy was the one who insisted we take this valley path. Huh. Now I knew. The one who didn't die before. That was your doing, right? Young Kangil's eyes looked shocked at it, and he tried to scream. Here. Quack. Quack. I put the sword through the neck, and having it pierced, the bastard fell to the ground. It couldn't be figured out what his intentions were, but if he was going to scream out our location, I couldn't let him live. This isn't going to be easy. Our escape was beyond these mountain ranges. I looked at the back of the procession. A trap in front. Unintentionally, it turned into a situation where I had to lead them all out.